So good to see you all on here. You guys can chat. You can message anytime you have questions during this seminar. I definitely want to hear from you. I want to make this interactive. I'm so happy that you are joining me tonight. I just got back from vacation and I'm super excited to be doing this seminar tonight on relationship synergy. And for those of you that have worked with me before, you know that I've been doing a lot of work around intimacy and relationship. And the reason that I wanted to do this topic today on synergy particularly is because I recognize how important not just intimate relationship is, but to really maximize the potential in all of our significant relationships, whether that's personal or professional. So I'm super excited to get started. All right, so let me see. All right, so I wanted to do this workshop because I wanted to prove that the way to be successful and happy and fulfilled in life is not just about going about your personal pursuits and going about your goals, that really the true fulfillment in life has to involve significant relationships. And without significant relationships and without harnessing the power of significant relationships, we're ultimately going to be unfulfilled, even if we become as successful as possible, or as successful as we can be. And this is a really timely topic right now because this is the new year, and I know people are getting really heavy-handed on their goals and what they're going to do. So I really want people to not just figure out and move towards their goals, but I want you to start to understand how your goals can be exponentially made easier, and you can go towards them faster and just more strongly with a better result when you start to take other people with you and when you start to really partner with other people in an intimate and intentional way. And so one of the things that's going to happen, and you're going to start seeing this for yourself, or you might start seeing it with other people, when we start going towards our goals without taking our relationships or harnessing the power of our relationships, it still means that we might be successful in getting to where we want. We might go a little bit slower, but the really big thing is that you're going to feel drained. You're also likely going to start getting burned out. You may not even know that you're being burned out. I was just talking to a woman a few months ago who was just like, yeah, I kind of feel depressed. And it's like, yeah, we realized that you're actually burned out. It's not that, you're depressed organically and chemically. You're actually getting burned out by all of the things that you're doing in pursuit of those really awesome, great things you're accomplishing. So one of the things that also happens when we start getting burned out is that you also start diving into your pursuits and your goals. And while you're doing that, you actually start to feel lonely on some level, because actually, if you talk to many successful people, success can actually be quite isolating, because you're diving almost with this, centered focus on your work while you're not really harnessing or fulfilling yourself through relationship, which is something that everybody needs. So in this seminar, we're going to be doing relationship synergy. And that is about partnering with others in a way that creates a result that is exponentially multiplied from what each individual invests or puts in. Okay, so let me hear a yes or a woohoo. How many of you all want to learn how to get some synergy in your relationships? Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Michelle Stanley. I'm a holistic psychotherapist and fulfillment coach. And so what I am most interested in doing is I'm most interested in helping people to align their careers with purpose by harnessing the power and the synergy of significant relationships. And what this means specifically, because when we're thinking about success, we're often thinking about independence and being very independent. And so really a lot of this work in relationship synergy is about shifting from an independence mindset, an independent way of going about our success, to an intimate way of going through our life, an intimate mindset, an intimate role, or an intimate set of habits that we're going to start to incorporate into our life. Okay. And I'm seeing a few of you, yes, and I do, and absolutely. And of course, I definitely want to hear, for those of you that are here with me, I want to hear what is the most important thing for you all to get out of this seminar so I can make sure that I give it to you. Okay, so yeah, so we're going to be shifting from independence to intimacy. And I'm going to be showing you specifically how you can start releasing the habits that are keeping you stuck in the roles that are creating not just the independence and the success. Those are the good parts of independence. But the shadow side of independence, like I said, it creates drain, loneliness, and also codependency. Because when we are very independent in our lives, we attract relationships with people that are not as empowered or are banking or relying on us to bear most of the burden. So I'm going to be talking to you all about how to shift your habits so that you can shift the role that you're having in your life so that you can start attracting and balancing out your relationships. And this is going to begin by reinventing your sense of self-worth. And your sense of self-worth is what we are going to be grounding your sense of security in. And then this reinvented self-worth, we're going to be talking about how we take that into our relationships so that we can partner with others in a way that enhances reciprocity, support, connection, and intimacy. And then finally, we're going to be talking about how we can use this reinvented self to evolve our life towards purpose through intimacy. So I'm seeing some people writing. So Susanna, launching a new business, awesome, and having a hard time finding clients. And you know that putting yourself out there will make all the difference, but of course it's hard. So yeah, absolutely. So we're definitely going to be talking about how you can align with your vibe and attract your tribe. So that's definitely a big part of attracting your tribe, is attracting the clients that really resonate with you. So definitely make sure, I'm going to ask you all to stick through to the end, because at the end of this seminar, I'm going to be giving you guys a pretty big discount to work with me in my upcoming classes and in my upcoming online course. So definitely stick through, because you won't be disappointed in what you're going to get at the end of this seminar. All right, so definitely keep them coming. Let me know what you all want to get out of this so I can make sure that I deliver. All right, so the thing that I want to know first, and this can relate to your personal or your business life, is I want to know, what's the fear or the concern? What's the biggest fear or concern that is keeping you up at night? And here's like some ideas. You can respond to the poll that I just put up, but you can also write in the chat box if you have other things that are kind of coming up for you. Yeah, so what's the biggest fear or concerns that keep you up at night? For some of you, we might have recently participated in a workshop retreat together where we had to write a letter to our fear. So, you know, if we start to really examine the things that we're afraid of, you know, we actually start to see that they're very much the same, and they kind of boil down to, you know, a few simple things. You know, the fear of failure, the fear of not being enough, or the fear of disappointing other people. That's a big one. The fear of loneliness or being alone, the fear of pain or suffering, and then the fear of rejection or abandonment sometimes really comes up significantly in relationships. So actually, if you look at these, like your biggest fears, and I'm seeing them come in right now, so a lot of people are answering that one of their biggest fears is the fear of failure, of not being enough, and enough disappointment. And, when we have a few of this, fear of loneliness, and fear of, suffering, which is the fear of suffering is actually the least popular one. So I just want to acknowledge that all of these, the fear of failure, the fear of not being enough, the fear of disappointment, the fear of loneliness, those are actually all having to do with relationships. Every single one of them is relational. And so when we can start to secure ourselves on a relationship level or a relational level, I use the word lovability to know that no matter what, we are absolutely 100% lovable just as we are and as imperfect as we are. When we can start to do that, to trust that in ourselves, we can overcome one of our most significant fears. And the big part of relationship synergy is going to be about how do we start showing up in our relationships and in our life centered around love as opposed to centering around fear. All right, so thank you so much for answering that question and just, understanding how significant it is for us to be able to feel value in our relationships. And so I'm going to begin by sharing a little bit about my own story. So my own story is that I also, right out of grad school, got really focused on being successful. And I actually, right after grad school, I moved to California for a little bit where most of my family is from. And my uncle works in real estate and my aunt works in the healthcare field. So my aunt got me a job. I don't even think that I had to apply for it, but it was making more money than I had ever seen any job that I had been offered. And as a social worker, you don't start out making that much. So I think I said the job was offering me 60 to 70,000, which was twice the salary a social worker makes starting off in DC. So at that time, I got a job, almost a free pass into a job. And my uncle works in real estate. And so he was just have a little condo here for you. No one's living in it right now. So you can just live there for free. It's going to be super easy for you. And I remember saying to him, I don't like this. I don't want to work at this job. And I don't want to live in a house that you gave to me. I wanted to move to DC where I knew nobody and I wanted to start my life. And I eventually ended up starting a business, but I wanted to embark on my own path. And I remember saying to him, he said, why would you want to do that? If you stayed here with your family and you got support, your life would be so much easier. And I remembered saying to him, why would I want that? Why would I want my life to be easier, but if helped by other people? I wanted to do it on my own. And so I did. I moved to DC. By the age of 30, I had started my first business, and I had actually bought my first house, and I was successful. Everybody was pleased and excited and surprised. And I was great at first, but then over time, I actually started to recognize that my friends started getting married, and I was married to my career. It was taking up most of my time. It was taking up a lot of my mental energy. The relationships that I was in, I wasn't really showing up fully because I was focused so much on keeping my business alive and on being successful. And then a couple years ago, I was actually talking to someone, and rather than referring to me by my name, they actually referred to me as Moksha, which is the name of my company. So, and that's actually happened a few times since then. People see me, and rather than say or use my name, I think they actually think my name is Moksha. So I think that was a wake-up call for me to recognize that I, in some ways, was losing my identity to my career. And all the success in the world. And actually when I go to events and family, birthdays and weddings, now people don't even like ask, they stopped asking me about my personal life and they just ask me about my business. And so that was really a sign to me that I had become successful, but my life had become really imbalanced. And so I was feeling like I was at a point where I wanted to start having children and having a family, but I had so much this feeling of dependency and of like a responsibility and obligation to the people that I worked with, that it literally felt like I had like babies like suckling off of my teats, like I was an animal being milked. Like everything that I had was being used up to give to other people. And when I thought about having children myself, I just couldn't even think about how I would have the resource mentally and emotionally to be able to do that. And I didn't know how I could shift that. But what I actually found out through hiring a coach and doing my own like leadership training was that I was doing that. I was creating that imbalance in my relationships by the role that I had taken on. And when I started shifting my own role and communicating that to people, the people that I work with, the people that I was friends with, they started shifting how they were interacting with me. So the really big principle here is about when you shift on the inside, your external world and relationships will alter accordingly. So that is what I did in my life, and I cannot tell you the difference. And I actually found out that a lot of people that I was feeling, were so reliant on me and so dependent on me, that once I started communicating to them that like, I want to be partnered, I want to share the responsibility, they started mirroring, they started telling me how I was getting in my own way of being able to do that. And this is a picture of me and one of my closest friends and business partners now, Sarah Oliveri. She's one of the people who has come along and really supported me on this journey. She has worked with me for a long time. And her relationship and my relationship together was one where I had to make the difference in being able to say, you don't work for me, you work with me. And just that communication allowed her to understand her role in supporting me and her role in supporting herself. And also through this friendship, we also started another business together, which was started through a friend of mine, a friend of a friend of mine. So one of my college best friends became friends with the man that owns the American School of Professional Coaching, Dr. Rosenbaum. And they became friends like as adults. And my college friend texted me one day and said, I think you should meet this guy. You guys are kind of doing similar things. And I'm like, I get called all the time. People want to like introduce me to people, network. And I just kind of let it sit in my inbox. And then finally I thought about it. I'm like, this friend of mine is like, he knows me really well. I trust him. And he's probably not going to just refer me like just a Joe Schmo. So I ended up reaching out to the guy like 3 months after Dr. Rosenbaum. And it turns out that our missions for our businesses are significantly aligned. And he had been looking for someone who's doing what I'm doing in DC, because he has family members that live here and wants to start a school. And we ended up building a partnership together and growing another arm of the business that Moksha now has, which is a coaching school. So I just wanted to share that these are just two examples of personal relationships that also were significant, but that branched into a professional partnership. And so I wanted to share this as a big part of how we can start using our community or our friendships, our social relationships to develop trust in the relationships that can become partnerships on a professional level. And so the way that we're going to really be talking about this today is through three things. So it's about security in ourselves and our lovability. And then here we have, it's about synergy. And that is about relationships. And through that is how we really figure out what is most significant to us. And that is really how we start aligning our life with purpose. So I'm hearing you say that this is so inspiring, and I'm seeing a question here. When I say love, do I mean all-encompassing love? So Meeta, I'm going to actually ask you to clarify your question, but I'm going to, when I say love, because I'm going to mention love a lot, and I'm going to actually go in later, I'm going to talk about the different types of love. But I'm going to say right now, I'm talking about love as lovability, as a sense of valuing yourself, and that value of yourself is something that transfers into how you show up in relationships. So it's love, not just as an action, but first as a state of being. That's what I mean by love. Often when we're thinking about love, we're thinking about it first in relationships. And that is not the place where it begins. Love begins with lovability. Love begins in a state of being. And how we as individuals have this state of being is through our connection to our higher self. If you can call that our higher self, we can call that divine, but it is through, I believe, our connection to our higher self that we can start to first learn and understand love. And so when we start to embody our sense of lovability, the being of love, we are relearning, I'm going to say that word again, relearning our sense of self and self-worth through the lens of love that is coming from our connection to our higher self or to the divine. All right, Meeta, you say you got it, and thank you. And thank you for asking that question. So continue, you all, to ask questions, to tell me what's vibing with you. Tell me what you're like, what you want to know more about. Just keep writing it in the chat so I can keep connecting with you all, and I can keep making this an interactive experience. So, okay, so we've got, in this workshop, we're going to be doing security, synergy, so that we can figure out what is significant to us to evolve our purpose. And then in the bigger picture, my overall program, my coaching program, is really about expanding these three principles of security, synergy, and significance into a refined sense of confidence. And I say that confidence is not just individual confidence. We expand our individual confidence into an intimacy confidence. And that both of those confidences are going to give us clarity in the way that we need to connect with other people and to connect with opportunities. That's why connection is the central part of this sphere. And then the way that we connect often is through communication, and it's through verbal communication and through nonverbal communication. And then when we do that, I use the word compensated because that word started with a C, but I'm basically saying that when we do those things, the result will be one that is a reciprocation that returns on the investment tenfold or magnifies the investment that you put in. And that is what synergy is. It multiplies the contribution that you put in so that you receive back more than what you are investing. All right. So tell me how this sounds, and I would love to hear about what is the most significant or important part about what I just shared to you. So definitely write that in the chat box so I can keep that in mind as we continue to move forward. Okay, so as we get into this, we can first start to understand is why we evolved independently instead of intimately. And as you guys started to see when we start talking about fear, is all of these things we started to basically, the mind by itself is naturally trying to avoid fear and prevent fear. So your mind is doing that by itself, whether you want it to or not. And so automatically and subconsciously, your mind started focusing on preventing pain or preventing yourself from getting hurt and preventing these things, these fears, And how you started to try to prevent yourself from these fears or protect yourself from these fears was actually to somehow prove your value through being successful. So it was through being successful and not necessarily being vulnerable that we started to try to prove our sense of self-worth. And how this shows up in relationships is that we are either isolating ourselves, so we're trying to be very, if those of you that have worked with me have seen this example before, this is a relationship model of security. On one end, we have an island that's like very isolated, tends to like be very independent, do things on their own. And on the other side, we have a wave. And a wave personality is one who tends to bring other people in, who tends to over rely on other people for support. And so the anchor is actually where we all want to be. And the anchor is what represents security. That you are in the middle, which means you do a balanced job of getting your needs met individually and on your own. And you also balance that out by being able to get help. And so for most of us, I want to know where you all fall on the spectrum. Do you feel like you're falling more on the wave side where you over rely or maybe are over dependent on your relationships, maybe experience insecurity in relationships or fear of abandonment, which I didn't really see a lot of that on the poll? Or do you fall on the extreme of being overly independent? And I really like this definition of island types, which is that you get your needs met by pretending, acting like you don't have them. Whereas a wave personality gets their needs met by over relying or relying too much on other people. An island personality gets their needs met by denying that they have them, by doing everything on their own. So would love to hear from you all. Where do you think you fall on the spectrum? Do you think that you fall on the wave side, more prone to rely on relationships? The island side, more tending to rely on yourself? Or are you more in the middle of being an anchor and doing both? Relying both on relationships as well as doing things for yourself. So you all still with me? All right. So Chantel, you said an island and you're learning to anchor. Love it. And Jamie, island. Sydney, I love it. Wave and island. So you're going through the full spectrum. Okay. How do islands get their needs met by acting? That's a good question, Meetha. Island. Okay. And then Susanna, you're an anchor. Okay, so how do islands get their needs met by acting as islands? So that's a really good question. I think that islands get their needs met often by working a lot and working really hard, pedal to the metal, nose to the grindstone. My story that I shared was definitely an island type. And that also you tend to get your needs met by the validation that comes from being successful. So Meetha, and for those of you that also identify as islands, would love to hear if that resonates for you, or if any of you out there that identify as islands, if you could also share what you understand about that and how you get your needs met as islands. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about as we move, so the goal for all of us in relationship, and also in our life, is we want to be moving towards an anchor, moving towards the secure part. And what we really notice is that the real true test of whether you're a wave in an island, often isn't going to be seen unless you are in an intimate relationship, or until you are in an intimate relationship, or until your sense of security, and when you're in a relationship, it could be the relationship being threatened to be lost, or the relationship being threatened to fracture or end. That's when you really start to see your true personality type come forth. They say that islands, when the relationship starts to show signs of decline or separation, the island will move back or recede into itself in order to protect itself. Whereas the wave, when the relationship feels threatened, will move forward and will try to engage the other person. And so again, that's how we want to start understanding our life, not just in relationships, but what do we do when we start to experience insecurity in our life or vulnerability? And as I go through this, I'm going to be talking about holistic security. All right, so you all still with me? Because I think that my slide deck just froze. So let me see what happened here. Okay, so Chantel, you're saying yes, that that's when it becomes really painful, because then you have to be vulnerable, and you can tend to go into island overdrive. And so you're recognizing that you actually just retreated a couple weeks ago. All right, so holistic security. So when we think about holistic security, we are thinking about shifting from seeking approval to self-acceptance. And this is really going to be asking you all, what do you really need in order to know and trust that you are enough and that you are absolutely 100% lovable? Because remember, what we just shared before is one of our biggest fears is the fear that we are not enough, that we are insignificant in our relationships. And so really what this is about what I call radical self-acceptance. And it's about understanding our value in 3 levels. So it's not just knowing that you are enough to other people, because you will never know that you are enough to other people if you don't know that you are enough to yourself. And knowing that you are enough to yourself can't just be done on a thought level, because if it's just done on a thought level, you are just repeating mantras and trying to make yourself feel something that you think. But that doesn't happen automatically. Just because you think something doesn't mean that you're going to feel it. And so you being able to feel that you are enough to yourself requires that you have 2 things. Number 1, that you know that you can take care of yourself, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And in order to take care of yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally, you have to be able to provide for your safety and your security. You have to be able to know that you have enough mentally to be able to figure out challenges. And you have to be able to know that you can bring enough into your relationships in order to offer something to other people. And so all of this has to begin with you being able to know and feel that you are significant in providing for yourself. And so I say that holistic security begins with the physical level, your environment, the individual level, which is about your ability to self-care, and then the relational level, which is about your self-worth in relationship or to other people. Okay, and then I'm just going to keep going, but it looks like what's happening here is that my screen is just going really slow and not moving. But I'm going to move on and keep going, even though my slide may not change. So as we start thinking about holistic security, I want us all to start understanding, how are we going to cultivate this mindset? Because our mind, and I'm going to use the word abundance mindset, we often think that abundance mindset is about a feeling, or about, that it's about a thinking. But abundance mindset is not about a thinking only. It is a thinking that has to first be preceded by a feeling. And that feeling has to be of love and of lovability. And in order to be able to have this feeling of lovability, we have to be able to release and let go of all those ways that we think of ourselves as unlovable. But Also, we are showing up in ways in our relationships, in ways that are aligned with our lack self instead of our lovable self. So the way that we really need to shift in order to have abundance mindset is we need to be able to show up and have this feeling, and that feeling is cultivated by being able to feel love. And that is how we cultivate abundance mindset. And so in actually next week, I'm going to be doing a workshop on abundance mindset, and we're going to be practicing a meditation that is geared to help you not just think abundantly, but feel the foundation of abundance within yourself, which is a secure foundation of lovability. So I want to invite you all to participate in that workshop. And at the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you all a way to participate in this workshop, actually as a free bonus if you participate and sign up for the other class. So you're going to be able to come to this meditation. It's a meditation journey, and it is one of our intentional living series. And it's about really starting to experience not just lovability, but a way of relating to self-doubt. Because in order to maintain lovability, you have to have a way of being resilient to challenges. And so when challenges come up, you start to relate to them through the lens of lovability. And what the lens of lovability does when you face challenges is it starts to figure out, how do I overcome challenges? It starts to get excited about overcoming challenges. And it starts to anticipate and be curious and interested about, how can I figure this out? And so no abundance mindset is just about, oh, everything becomes easy and I have all the solutions, I never have any fear. Abundance mindset is really what gives you resilience to bounce back from setbacks, but also it gives you the courage to step more vulnerably into your challenges. And so when we start to do this, we are cultivating security, like I said, on the mental, physical, and emotional sphere. And this is what security is. And I like to say that this is like a pendulum swing, that often when we go through life, we're often thinking about decisions on a physical level. What do I need to do? Am I going to leave? Am I going to stay? Do I need to change jobs? Do I need to take this job? Do I need to go back to school? If you look at this image here, that is actually a tendency that we resort to when we are not secure in our ability to holistically figure things out from an abundance mindset. Because when we're doing things and we're just looking at the decisions, we're not looking at our holistic perspective, our holistic mind in figuring things out. We're only looking in the action level. And so when we start to be holistic in how we go through our decisions with abundance mindset, we're incorporating the mental and the emotional sphere. And a really big part of the mental and emotional sphere, the mental sphere is relational. It really teaches you how to use other people in figuring things out, not being quick to decisions, and how to collaborate and how to partner with others to overcome the individual challenges that you might be facing. And then the emotional sphere of decision making is about overcoming the emotional challenges. And so often when we come to a challenge in our life, and I definitely want to hear from you all, what are the specific challenges that you are experiencing right now? I know, Susanna, you said the one about trying to get more clients. So I'm going to ask you all to think about what specific challenges you're having in your life and what is the actual emotion that is underlying that challenge. And if you start to shift into what is the emotion, and put it in the chat box when you start to be aware of what is the emotion underlying that challenge, or what is the emotion that you feel when you think of that challenge. So in Susanna's example, it's about, what do you feel, Susanna, when you start to recognize either the number of clients that you have or the vulnerability that you experience when trying to get new clients, or maybe it's reaching out to people. I'm not sure what it is, but I know that that can be extremely vulnerable. Making cold calls, putting yourself out there. So what is the emotion that comes up for you when you face making that decision or navigating that decision? So Susanna, you said anxiety. So that's definitely one. So when we can start to emotionally move through the anxiety, the decision is going to work itself out. So often when we think about decisions, we're trying to figure out the external part, but we're not figuring out the emotional part. So abundance mindset is about teaching you to work through the emotional level so the external obstacle will be removed. And when we start to do this, this is how we really start to have authentic vulnerability, because we are showing up in our relationships where we allow ourselves to get help, not with just the physical part of our challenges, but the emotional part as well. So definitely, you all, as we go through this, I want to keep hearing from you about what is the emotional part that is underlying some of your decisions. All right, so we're talking about authentic vulnerability. And as my screen just froze right now, I'm going to just share this little story. One of my recently, a man that I was having a conversation with said to me about vulnerability. He said, I have a brother, and he's so vulnerable. Like when he shares things, you can tell that he's just sharing from his heart. He's sharing because it feels good to him to express himself and to share and to connect with people and get support with what he's feeling emotionally. And then he said, but for me, he said, it feels different. He said, and also he said, I can also notice it in other people that it seems like their vulnerability is inauthentic. And when I asked him to explain, I thought that was really interesting. It's inauthentic vulnerability. What do you mean by that? And he said, it's almost as if I'm sharing, but with the expectation or the anticipation of how someone else is going to respond to it. And that definition, I thought, really illustrated how we need to shift from being falsely authentic to being authentically vulnerable, is being able to express what we're feeling on the inside authentically to the outside. And this is one of the ways that we really start to not just master our mind, but to be able to get help and support. So this is really mastering your mind, abundance mindset. I put it right here, is about number one, taking action. That's the physical realm, taking care of yourself. Physically, your environment, your body, that's the take action, the physical realm. The mental realm is relational. It's about getting help and problem solving. And that requires authentic vulnerability. And I like this. Mona, you're sharing that you're trying to figure out whether to get your PhD and how it will affect your time for mothering. I love this. Forgiveness, and you just put the emotion, Sydney, anxiety and frustration. And then Mita, the decision of continuing with your communications program. And then making the choice to be a writer. So with all of these, I'm going to ask you all to sit with, for a lot of you, the emotion is anxiety. And when we understand that the root of anxiety is often fear, and I like, Sydney, you put frustration. Once we can start to shift that emotion, then the answer is going to spontaneously arise. And so that's what I really want a lot of you to be joining me in, cultivating, mastering your mind in this abundance mindset, so that we can start to handle our challenges, problem solve on a holistic level, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so as I talked with you about authentic vulnerability, I'm going to ask you all to reflect on for yourself. And Donna, you said the root of it for you is also fear. So yes, so the more that you start to, I want you all to stay with those emotions, and I want you all to start thinking about how can I start getting support around these emotions from other people? And then I'm gonna move into this right now, because this is a workshop, it's a collaboration. We're doing this together. I'm gonna start telling you guys how we can start dealing with these emotions in our relationships. And so this is how we really start developing significance, both in what's significant to us, but also significance in our relationships. I'm going to ask you all, you're aware of these emotions, but when you're talking to people about things in your life, are you speaking with people about the fear that you're having? Are you speaking to them about the anxiety, or are you speaking with them about the other stuff, the decisions? What do you need to do? And so simply being able to express how you feel on the inside to the outside is the definition in the Ayurvedic tradition of wellness. Disease in the Ayurvedic tradition. This is a direct quote from I studied in a yoga hospital in India. It was the sign on the board. It says disease is the mismatch between how you feel on the inside and what you express to the outside. And so a lot of the problems that we're having, we're thinking, oh, I'm not making the right decision. I'm not doing the wrong thing. I'm going to do the wrong thing. It's going to put my life on the wrong course. I'm going to really challenge all of you all to start expressing more accurately and more clearly and more simply what you're feeling on the inside, and start communicating that to the outside. And then that is going to be, like I said, with this vulnerability, it starts shifting your vulnerability to be more authentic, so that your communication is not just to serve other people and how they think of you. And that's like a low level way that we start trying to feed ourselves. I'm going to feed myself by getting validation. I'm going to say this so that somebody feels this way for me, so that somebody thinks of me this way. So we think that that communication serves us when we say things to get a reaction or get a response or evoke a feeling from someone else. But it's actually, it doesn't serve them. And it doesn't actually serve you at your highest level. It serves you on a low level. It serves your ego, but it doesn't serve your higher self. And again, how we start to evolve our life and synergize our relationships, we have to begin showing up on the essential level and not the ego level. And then, Susanna, you said that you have been sharing your anxiety with friends and they've been helping you. And that's what I really like to, we want to see, is that when you start sharing it, and we'll start talking about next, about how do we start talking about things in a way that helps people to help you, instead of just making them feel a certain way about you, or making yourself look better in their eyes. And then, Susanna, you asked the question, why do you think I should admit my anxiety? Who do you think I should admit my anxiety to? So, okay, so I'm going to answer that with another question, which is that this is about really starting to, when I say the mental, physical, and emotional level, I'm going to ask you to start sensing, like, who do you feel like that you can trust? Who do you, and when you start looking, I say trust is not something that is developed passively. Trust is something that you have to develop intentionally and deliberately. And if you're not looking for opportunities to trust or looking for evidence that you can trust people, you may not find it. And so I would say to you, and I'll say this later, is that when we start thinking about trust and being able to trust others, who can we share this with? I would start saying, start looking for evidence in your relationships of who you can trust and what that looks like. And when you start to develop that criteria, Susanna, I bet you it will start showing up in your relationships. And so Meeta, you're saying that the graduate program was about the past ego, and writing is about the current moment of feeling. So yes, so that's a great example of starting to align with your essential self. And so when I say the difference between independent versus intimacy confidence, it's about bringing your lovable self into relationships, being authentically vulnerable, as I just said before, And then we're going to be getting into how we start doing this. I'm saying we're going to start communicating in our relationships differently. We're going to start not just communicating with other people about the what's and what we've already figured out, but the emotional stuff that we need help with. And often, as we know, communication is the foundation of a healthy and thriving relationship. And often when we are communicating, we're not communicating about emotions, or we're just communicating about what we figured out or about the positive emotions. It's really vulnerable to communicate with somebody about an emotion that you don't know what to do with. But I'm saying to you that space, this space that we give around emotions, is what allows them to transform. And when you offer an emotion into the space of a relationship, you offer the possibility of that emotion to be transformed through that relationship. And so I'm going to say that here, that authentic confidence and security is expressed through communication. And when you see people that are not being vulnerable, it's actually cowardly. Real confidence, real security shows up in vulnerable communication. And I really love this, this example, that this is really what allows us to stop communicating in a way that we're seeking validation, and it allows us to start asserting our self-worth. And one of the things that I'm going to give you all the opportunity to do at the end of our seminar today is I'm going to give you the opportunity to participate, again, at a really discounted price in our coaching school. And so really the coaching conversation is about it's not for just coaches, although it can be for people that want to learn how to coach, but are the premise and the foundation of our school. Remember, I met my business partner through a friend. We have, me, Sarah, and Elliot we call ourselves the dream team. The foundation of our business partnership is one of the most solid, loving friendships and partnerships that I've ever known. And that relationship with them transcends anything that I've ever understood or known to be possible in a friendship or a business partnership and relationship. And so one of the things that we teach people in the coaching conversation is how to have an emotionally focused communication without becoming an emotional crutch, or without becoming feeling like you're just going down an emotional rabbit hole. How to use the emotion that you're having to develop insight. And so, Meeta, you're saying that it feels like people aren't willing to be vulnerable, and that people are about ego-based communication. And how do we attach right relationships? And how do we start aligning with ourselves to attract the right people? Okay, Meeta, that is a really good question. And so one of the things that I will say is that part of our coaching school is about when we can start having ourselves these conversations in different spaces, in academic spaces, in our professional spaces, but just even with our doctors, with our healthcare providers, with our kids, with our teachers, when teachers can start. And actually, this model of coaching is one that teachers, one of my best friends is also a principal in a school, and coaching is a huge part of what her teachers are learning to do with their students. And also, it's a way that they are starting to train other teachers. But the foundation of this communication, I know other people aren't willing to have it, but one of the things that we start to shift, and how we start shifting communication, is actually through transformational listening. And in our coaching school, I will start teaching you all how to listen in a way that transforms the person that you're listening to. Because often when we are starting to talk to someone who's coming from an ego-based perspective, we start arguing with them. We start trying to impose their point of view, as opposed to giving them space and illuminating for themselves the insight, their own insight upon what they're saying. And when you let someone think or reflect upon what they're saying with space, and you give them the compassion to not judge them, they will often start expanding their thinking. And so often when someone's having an ego-based perspective, it is also because we're acknowledging they don't feel safe. And so the big way we can start to shift an ego-centered conversation is to support the conversation and the conversational space to feel safe. And in coaching, we call that a thinking environment. And a thinking environment is shifting from one where you have to prove something, where you have to validate something, where you have to exert your opinion over someone, to a thinking environment where ideas can be expanded and grown. So we got some, oh my God, it's so true. It's a huge challenge. And yes, it is. So for those of you that are thinking about this coaching program, I'm going to be doing a seminar in February. It's a 3-hour seminar. I'm going to give you all today for like half price. So stay with me, and you're going to really get a really great opportunity. I'm going to be teaching it. You don't need to become a life coach, but in a 3-hour seminar, I'm going to be teaching you all how to take a coaching conversation into your personal relationships, into your conversations with loved ones, with families, as well as in the professional realm and with people that you work with. And yeah, so Susanna, I love this. You're saying that you're radically honest about your on your about page. And yeah, I love this, and vulnerable. And I love this, Susanna, because you're saying that when you did that, you weren't needing the validation of other people. And that's how we know and we start to trust ourselves that we're making good decisions. When the decisions that we make feel good to ourselves, regardless and before we even get a response from other people. And so that's really what we want to start seeing. And coaching is really about helping people find those solutions. There are some solutions that you're going to arrive to in your life that are just the clear, feel good decision. And Meetha, I don't know how you're going back to your writing felt that way, but these are the decisions when we can start making all of our decisions to evolve around ones that simply feel good, regardless of how other people respond to them. That is how we start trusting. And I say we get a fail-safe way about orienting our life. So this is just an example of one of the things you'll learn in our coaching class, which is the 5 levels of listening. And you're going to start to learn how to mirror, how to listen for incisive questions, and then also how to give people the space, create a thinking environment, and also to help people, empower people to come up with their best solutions. And through that collaborative process, you would be amazed. The coaching process not just helps the person you're coaching, it helps you. So in this coaching seminar, you will be coaching other people, finding out how to transform your communications with others, but you're also going to be receiving coaching so you can start to experience just simply the benefits of a transformative thinking environment. All right, so this is my 3rd lesson. So I know we're coming towards the end of our class, so stay with me, you all. We're almost there. So the last part of this webinar is about a commitment to evolving our life through intimacy. And really, how we're going to start doing this is through our communication, as I just shared. And how we're doing this through our communication, I go through it briefly here, is that we're going to start shifting from the what we're communicating to the emotion that we're having, to start to understand what is the value that we have in our life that causes us to feel this way. And so for those of you that we're starting to figure out the emotion that we're feeling around these situations, I want you to start to figure out and think about what is the value, what is most essential to you that is causing you to feel that anxiety, that's causing you to feel that fear that you have. And some of you might be able to think through this right now. Some of you might involve a conversation. So I want you to start having this conversation with other people, or come have it with me, come have it in our coaching seminar next month, so that we can start to understand what is the value what is the essential value in your life that's causing you to feel anxiety, that's causing you to feel fear? So I really love to tell people that anxiety is often an intuitive emotion, and it often comes from our higher self or from our divine intuition. It's raising its hand. It's saying something's wrong here. You're not on your path in the way that you need to be. It's raising a flag to you. And so we can start to listen to that, to start to understand what is the value, what do we want, what is most essential that we start getting in our life. And then it is about shifting in our next part. Our commitment to evolving our life through intimacy is beginning to align our life with that which is most significant or essential. All right, and so for those of you, sometimes we start to feel, because we can't rely, we're not getting synergy in our relationships, we feel like we're hitting a wall here. We don't have a way to navigate, but we just stop at the bad feeling or the negative emotion. We hit the anxiety, we hit the fear, and we just become disabled by it. And so really, this abundance mindset, this communication, learning how to transform your conversations, and start orienting your life towards what's significant is really how we start moving beyond these obstacles into what is transformative and significant in our life. And this is just a few things. I'll go through this at the end, but this is just a few things, like I said, that we'll be doing in our coaching course. The three-step coaching structure, a 7-minute success strategy that will distinguish you from an employee to an expert, a 3-step coaching structure that's going to engage others in their own empowerment, how to turn any environment into a thinking environment, and the 5 levels of listening for light bulb moments. Light bulb moments are really, when we can start having more light bulb moments in conversations, we really start to synergize our relationships. And Chantel, you're saying, how do you use the same principles to give yourself space to communicate in an emotionally focused way? So that's a really good question. And I'm going to ask you all to do what I don't often have time to do, but I'm going to do it now, is that space has to begin with exactly that, and that's silence. And so I'm going to ask us all to take a few moments of silence and recognize all the ways that we are cluttering and filling our life up with things, whether that's social media, whether that's online dating, whether that's, figuring out what we need to do or what goal we need to achieve or what's the next thing we need to be working on. When you can actually give yourself the space to do nothing and allow the spontaneous impulse to arise. The thing is that the creative impulse exists in the world and it comes to you and through you. But if you're constantly cluttering yourself, your space, your mind, your habits, there is no space for that creative impulse to come into you or to be used by you. And so often, I love this practice that Catherine Woodward Thomas gives. And she says, take time in your life and in your day to do absolutely nothing. And some of you have read that book because I've asked you to read it. But when I do a lot of manifestation work with people, that exercise of doing nothing is the single one that people across the board tend to avoid. So that's it. I'm going to challenge you to start giving yourself space and backing off of needing to make decisions and waiting for that creative impulse or that sense that's going to spontaneously arise about this is the thing that is a clear yes, a clear going to make me feel good, and start navigating towards those. So Chantel, let me know. I hope that answered your question. And we're going to be moving now into what is most significant to you. And as I said earlier, figuring out and orienting your life according to what is most significant to you requires trusting yourself. and being able to overcome obstacles, and the obstacles, starting to see obstacles as opportunities. And what I said at the beginning is, when we start to use obstacles as opportunities, we start to transform the places where we feel self-doubt, and we start to feel trust, because we start to feel the emotion of excitement, anticipation, curiosity, intrigue, playfulness. And these are all manifestation emotions. So ultimately, this is about how we are engaging with our challenges in a way that we are going to create a fail-safe strategy for our success. And a fail-safe strategy doesn't mean that we never fail. It means that we learn, number one, how to be resilient. Because as you know, most people that start successful businesses have had a business that has failed first, myself included. I had a business that totally flopped before I started Moksha, which was my second business. I got fired from a job with a private practice before I started my own. So you have to learn how to, as Lauryn Hill says, stop the car and turn around. Say, I was going the wrong direction. Let me turn around, and do that with confidence, and do that with courage and a sense of self-worth. I'm about to move home this winter because it's warm in California. My mom just moved there. And I could be like, oh my God, I'm moving home, and my life didn't work in DC. But like, no, I'm choosing to move home because I didn't choose to get the support from my family when I was 23. So now I'm choosing to do that now. I'm turning the car around, and I'm having a different attitude about it, which is that it's my choice. And it may not look like what other people's life looks like, but it feels good to me, and it's going to work out. Okay. Yeah. So I'll tell you all about, you're all are going to hear about my move. It's just a small thing. Susanna, you said what? So definitely be telling you all about this, but just as I'm telling you all, I want you all to reinvent your life. I want you to swerve, as Michelle Obama says. I model that in my own life. I walk my talk. So I'm also going to swerve. I'm going to try to do the bicoastal life. I've been talking about it for a long time and trying to manifest it. And everybody keeps saying, oh, you keep talking about it. I think the opportunity is finally here. So I am going to do it. So I'll be beginning in February, which is why I'll be working online for this winter, which is why my course will be online while I will be swerving in California, starting my new business and life out there. So resilience is required. So this is not about getting rid of fear. It's about being able to know how to relate to it. How do we start to do this dance with fear? How do we look at it, understand what it needs, and still keep moving forward positively with it, in light of it? And resilience is required. And so this is really the project that I'm going to be starting now is called the Purpose Project. And like I said, it's about helping people not just to align with purpose, but to make their purpose profitable. And if you have been in any of my other workshops, I will tell you, thank you, Jamie, I will tell you that purpose is not just about your career, but purpose is about all areas of your life. It's about relationships, your social, your professional, your familial, your intimate relationships. The purpose evolves through relationship. And it also has to do with understanding that relationships are just as much a wealth and a value as any other material thing. And it's about understanding that your purpose has to be completed or fulfilled through fulfillment in all areas of your life, your personal life, your health, your relationships, your community, your spiritual life. It has to be fulfilled in all of those areas. Otherwise, you are not aligning with purpose. And so I'm saying that by aligning yourself through your fulfillment, you're aligning with purpose. And I want you all to start living your life, your purposeful life, profitable. And so we're going to be doing that. That is my purpose project plan. And I'm reviewing the steps that we learned today. So number one, I want you to start understanding your relationships as wealth. And I want you to start showing up in your relationships with this lovability through how you communicate and communicating vulnerably, not just the physical level, but the mental and the emotional level, being able to get help and support. And then who are the people that you will create synergy with? And that goes back to what I think Sumita asked about who, or Susanna, I think, I can't remember which one of you asked, who are the people that you can learn how to trust? And I want you to start sensing that. And I'm going to ask you to follow up with me, because if you start saying, where is the evidence of who I can trust, or the evidence that I can trust this person, and look for all of the evidence that you can, you're going to start finding your people. But if you are waiting for yourself to start feeling trust or feeling safe spontaneously, it's not going to happen. So trust is something that has to be intentional. It has to be something that you do deliberately. Trusting is active. And so we are going to start moving through our life through developing trusting, which is going to allow us to have resilience, because we trust not that we're never going to fail or that we're not going to experience fear, but we trust that we can manage our challenges and we can come out on the end of our challenges in a way that we move forward. Remember, most successful businesses, most successful people have failed. So trusting is not about avoiding failure. It's about knowing that you can go through it and that you can learn from it. And that is what resilience is. Resilience is about coming out of a setback better than you went into it. So write that down. That is a really important part, and it helps you change your relationship to fear. Trusting yourself is not about avoiding failure. It's about trusting that going through challenges and facing your obstacles can allow you to come out on the other side in a way that you are better, that you are enhanced than from when you went into it. And this is how we really start to trust ourselves and trust our life. So this was the last challenge that I gave you guys, to start to write down all the evidence that you can find that you can trust yourself. That you can trust yourself to be able to handle the challenges that you're facing, that you can allow yourself to face these obstacles, that you can allow yourself to face the vulnerability and still land on your feet. I want you to start making that list, all right? So I want you to hear, I want to see, I'm going to do it, or yes, write it in the chat box if you're going to take me up on this challenge. Writing down all the evidence that you can trust yourself and that you can trust yourself to manage your challenges and come out better on the other side. All right, so Cindy, you wrote that down with a quickness, and Jamie, you're on the move. All right, so the last part of this, you guys, I want you all to be supported. I want us to do this all together. This is all going to just come down, not something you're going to do today. You're going to do it tomorrow, and then you're going to forget it. I want us to start developing and integrating all of the things that we're learning here about trusting ourselves, about communicating, about being secure and aligning with abundance mindset. We need to start incorporating that into habits in every area of our life. All right? So I love it. You guys are making your list. Absolutely, Donna, you're going to do it. So I want us all to do this together, and that's what I'm going to be doing in my Purpose Project course, which is going to be starting in February. So if you don't want to do this alone, you want to do it with people, because this is about relationship synergy. I want to do this with you. As you all see, I'm doing it myself. We're going to support each other in doing this all together, and I promise you, you all, we are going to see some results. All right? So what I'm going to tell you is that just how I passed up pressing the easy button in my life 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, 17 years ago, however long it was, when my uncle said it would be so easy if you would just be in California and let people help you. I said, I don't want to do that. Why would I want to do that? I'm pressing the easy button in my life. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get so much support from my family, and I'm going to just do everything that I did independently. I'm going to see how it goes, getting the support of my family. And I've got a huge network in California just waiting for me. So I want to give you all the opportunity to press the easy button in your life right now. And we're going to give you a strategy for being able to do this. And this is all about using time and being intentional. Time is your biggest asset, and you don't want to lose time. It's about using time to your advantage. And using time to do what is most meaningful for you so that you are never wasting time. All right? All right, so here's what I am going to give you all. That is your big bonuses that you're going to get for staying in to the end of this webinar. So you are going to be able to get the intentional living design. So I will be offering a coaching call to you all. And that will be a 30-minute call. I'm going to send you a homework outline before an article where we're going to actually start developing your life design blueprint. And some of you that have worked together, you've already done that. So you know what it is. But those of you that have never worked with me, you'll get the opportunity to start developing your life design, which is actually, it's based off Stephen Covey's work. It's an intentional living plan about how to align your day-to-day habits in every area of your life, your health, your personal self-care, your relationships, your career, your community, your spiritual life. Start aligning your habits with what it is that is most essential to you. So I'm going to give you all a coaching call, 30-minute call, as well as an article that's going to support you in creating this actual life design plan for yourself. So that you can start to organize yourself and create a structure that's going to give you clarity about what's most essential to you, that's going to help you prioritize the things and the habits that you need to do that are going to serve you over the things that you tend to do, which either serve other people more than they serve you or they don't serve you at all. And it's going to help you to actualize a strategy to make your purpose profitable. All right, so that's really where we're going. So this is not for everyone. It's not for people who want a microwave mentality, because this is about intentional living and about making this happen through your habits, so that it's not just like you get one result and then it ends. This is something that when you start developing these habits, the results are going to continue for the rest of your life as your habits start evolving. Okay, so your purpose not just fulfilled through habits, it's fulfilled through people. And I want you to start sensing and feeling and trusting into who are the people that are going to help you evolve your life. Okay, so you're going to get the purpose project. It's a lot of P's. You're going to get a coaching call with me. You're going to get to come to the Abundance Mindset, which is the meditation class next Thursday, the 23rd. And you're going to get to come to the Learn to Life Coach course. And you are going to get a discount on this price. The normal price for that is $350. And for those of you that have stayed through to the end of this webinar, I want to give you all a big round of applause, a woohoo for sticking through to the end. And your reward for this, and like I said, I give a money back guarantee on everything within 30 days. You are going to get everything today. You're going to be able to get started with simply a $40 purchase. That's and that $40 will get you the call with me. It will give you your life design plan. I'm going to put up the offer right now. And it will also get you into the abundance mindset, into the abundance mindset class that's happening next week. All right, so let me get my offer up. Let me choose my offer. Uh-oh, my offer is not showing up. That's not good. Okay. Let me give it a moment. All right, so give me a moment to pull up my offer, but let me tell you all, and if I can't pull it up now, I will give it to you all in the email. But what you're going to be able to get is this for $40. And you're also going to be able to get, if you want to do the coaching course, which is in February, you're going to be able to do the coaching course. You're going to be able to do the abundance mindset meditation journey, and get the coaching call with me, all for $97. So that is a huge discount. It is only going to be available for 24 hours. And so I really want you all to take advantage of that, and take advantage of that now. Let me see if I can get that up there. Where is it? And if you all have any questions, we're at the end of this right now. So tell me if you have any questions about either of those things. And let's see. Oh, here it is. Uh-oh. Where did it not go? It's gone. Dang it. Okay. Let me try this again. All right, hang in there, guys. And while we're waiting here, if anybody has questions, like I said, we've got time, and I'm going to just turn this into a Q&A while I'm pulling up this offer. So go ahead, write them in the chat box, and I can answer them while I am pulling this. Okay, so Meeta, that's a really good question. Are all of these workshops online? So no. So the Abundance Workshop next Thursday, it's in person, as well as the coaching class is also in person. So both of these workshops are going to be in person, which is like super valuable. These are the last two workshops that I'm going to be doing before I go to California. So I really would love to see you all. I found it. Let's see, get code or link. And let's see, I might have to I'm gonna have to type this in the put this offer in the chat box. So let me know when you all can see it. Because, all right, so that should have worked right there. And if you click on that, do you all see it? And I can try to get the offer into the other. I can't believe it didn't show up. You can actually come to the workshops. Those are both in person. If you come to the workshop, I'll be talking and I'll be sending stuff out in February about the Purpose Project Plan, and that will be an online course. That will be the full I haven't decided if it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks, but I'll be reaching out to those that are interested about that. And that will be a weekly class that we'll be meeting in the evenings, probably the same time, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. And that one will be online. So once we start doing the online Purpose Project Plan, that will be, Meeta, an online class. And that will be beginning in February. But these two offers that I just gave you right now for the Abundance Mindset meditation journey, which has been awesome, as well as the coaching course in February, those are both in person. And the meditation class is going to be held at the Viva Center. Susanna, you asked what time of the day is the meditation. So the meditation is going to be happening next Thursday. And that, if you look at the link that I said, it will say the date and the time on there. It will be, starts at 6:30 p.m. And that's next Thursday. And we go from 6:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. And once you sign up, you'll get the all the logistics of it. It's going to be at the Viva Center, which is in on Connecticut Avenue in DuPont Circle. All right. And then, oh, Susanna, thank you. It doesn't say the time. Thank you for that. Okay. So yes, so the meditation is going to be next Thursday, January 23rd at the Viva Center. And it's from 6:30 till 8 p.m. And you guys are getting a significant discount on everything. And actually, what you all are paying for today is you're getting a discount on the coaching call with me, and you're basically getting, for $40, you're getting the workshop for free. So I really hope you all take me up on the offer. I would love to talk with you all. I would love to see you all in the workshop next week. And then for the coaching course, that one will be in February. That's February the 8th. It's a Saturday. And that one will actually be at Moksha Living. And that is actually the last weekend that I will be in DC. And I'll be back monthly, but that will be the last time that I'm here before I go out to California for the winter. So I hope you all were able to use the link, I assume. And I will be online. I'll stay online. If you all have any questions, feel free, like I said, to ask them to me here. And thank you all so much for joining. You all will see an email from me following up, and you can feel free to circle back with me with any questions. For those of you that are signing up for a coaching call with me, you will be able to schedule that through the Moksha Living website. And there's a section that says consultations. And all you have to do is just schedule a consultation. You can schedule a life coaching consultation with me. Chantel, is there a description of the coaching class? Yes, so there is a description of the coaching class, and I'll follow up if you want, and I can send you, I'm actually going to be sending that out on Friday, the more detailed description of it, but I'm going to go back to where it was in the slides so that you can see a little bit about the things that we're going to be covering in it. Let me see. And I think, Chantel, you actually were interested in in a previous coaching one. So it's going to be a similar format. It's just specifically going to be for people that not necessarily want to become coaches, but the people that want to learn how to coach. And so here's some of the things here, Chantel, if you can see it. So these are some of the things that we're going to be learning. Like there's going to be the 3-step coaching structure. So basically, a coaching structure has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And even though a lot of coaches do a coaching session in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, some even do an hour, we're going to teach you how to have a beginning, a middle, and an end of a coaching conversation in as little as 15 minutes. Expert people can do it in 3. And it's really going to help you to streamline your conversations so that you're not having, I don't know how, this was intended for people that are going to meetings where meetings are like a waste of time. So it's going to be helping you to have meetings and conversations where you're really getting to the most significant meat of the conversation. And you're really leveling up your conversations to an inspirational level. So these are some of the things, Chantel, that we're going to actually be teaching in the course. And the first part of the workshop is going to be a teaching of skills. And that's going to be from I think that the workshop's from 1 to 4. So from 1 to 2, 1 to 2:15, 2:30, it's going to be a teaching of skills. And then in the last part, so you don't have to come to both, but if you, like I said, if you're getting it so cheap today, this workshop is $97 if you buy it another time. Today you're getting it, I can't even tell you, you're getting it for $45. So if you don't want to come to both, you don't have to, but you're getting it if you want to come. So the first part will be just skills. And then the second half of it is going to actually be, you're going to get the opportunity to practice coaching, and you're going to actually also get the opportunity to get coached yourself. And that is one of the most transformational experiences. And so I ask people who are coming to this workshop, bring your issues, bring whatever you all are coming up with in this workshop. I want you to start getting help from people, start thinking through things, start working through the emotional part of your challenge. And whatever is, left over, I want you to bring that to the abundance mindset. I want you to bring that to the coaching session in February. And I want to see how we can start to transform those challenges that you're having. All right, Chantel. All right, so you got it. All right. Any other questions before I get off this call? I want to thank you all so much for joining me. I really, really enjoyed doing this with you all today. And I will really look forward to seeing you all, hopefully in the Abundance Mindset meditation journey next week, as well as in the coaching course next month. And I would love to see you all together join me in the Purpose Project Plan. All right? All right. And Meetha, I see that you signed up, and I'm super looking forward to seeing you. And I will see you all soon, okay? Have a lovely night and enjoy, and just like I said, make that list, y'all. Let me know how it goes. All right, until next time. Bye-bye.